Hi, I'm Brett Sicklick from Prime Wellness of Connecticut, located in South Windsor. Cannabis has been used as a medicine since the beginning of recorded history. In the last 40 years, the scientific studies and research of cannabis has progressed rapidly and is affirming that cannabis is useful as a medicine. In this episode of Inside Medical Cannabis, we visit one of Connecticut's licensed production facilities where we get a step-by-step look at how a variety of cannabis strains are carefully cultivated and processed into different forms of pharmaceutical-grade medicine. We're here at Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions in Portland, Connecticut, and we're here with Reno Ferrarizi, who is the COO of Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions. And the reason why we're in this room here first is because this is where the whole process, the whole cultivation process starts at this facility. And Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions prides themselves on growing as organically as possible. And right behind us here is Vermont compost. And Reno, why don't you tell us and tell the patients why you guys chose to use this type of compost and the purpose of it in your soil mixture?
So the reason that we use certified input materials in our process is because it gives us the assurance that there are going to be no surprises at the end when we're making our product. Unfortunately, there isn't an organic certification available for medical marijuana, but we can use certified organic input materials. So we basically use all the same ingredients that you would use in an organic grow, except we don't get to make the claim at the end. It's also worth mentioning that we use a highly purified water. We have a reverse osmosis system that purifies our water. So using certified input materials and purified water assures us that our products meet the highest standards of medicinal quality.
Yeah, and because Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions is growing as close to 100% organic as possible, they really are able to deliver true medicine to the patients here in Connecticut. We're here now in the propagation room at Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions, and the plants that you see here have recently been transplanted into these 1-gallon pots and into the soil. They've come out of the aero cloning machine, which essentially is used to establish roots. And Reno, is this room similar to the others in the facility, or are there kind of some unique attributes to this particular room?
The environment that these younger plants require is it's warmer, there's more humidity, really helps them to establish a good root ball, a good root base, and we don't want them growing up and stretching too much yet, so we don't add any carbon dioxide in here.
We've now made our way into the mother room and small veg room here at Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions, and behind us we have the really stock of plants that Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions is bringing to market here in Connecticut. So these are the plants in which they're taking clones from to basically start that new phase of growth. And just wanted to highlight quickly the distinction between these two plants here. The one on your right, or my left, is an indica dominant plant. You can notice that it's a little bit shorter, squattier, maybe some of the leaves are a little bit wider, whereas this plant right here is a sativa dominant plant, so has a lot of stretch in it, definitely much taller.
In the late 1800s, a European botanist by the name of Jean-Baptiste Lamarck had published a document classifying sativa and indica varieties of cannabis. The sativa was typically grown in Europe as a hemp variety. They wanted it long and stretchy for the fibers to use in different textiles and such. There was no narcotic effect, though, when you consumed the sativa. In India, however, there was a strain that was darker in color, and like Brett said, it was squattier, fatter leaves, and it was highly narcotic. So he classified the strain from India as an indica versus the sativa in Europe. Now, however, everything is hybridized, taking strains and mixing them to sort of optimize the benefits from each sort of variety.
So we're here in one of the flowering rooms, and you'll notice that we've got a tremendous amount of swelling of the cannabis plant's flowers here. So basically these plants are in the later stage of their life. There's a significant amount of resin production on these plants. Resin is where a majority of the cannabinoids are contained. And the other thing that we really can't avoid here is the intensity of the lights. These look like very high intensity lights. Are these
high pressure sodium? Are these metal halide? Do you have a mix? It looks like there's kind of a checkerboard of lighting here.
That's correct. So we do. We have the high pressure sodiums in here. We also have metal halides. This is sort of one of our little more experimental rooms. We can control the output of these lights using the ballasts. All of this is in support of tricking the plants into believing that it's autumn, that it's a 12-hour light period, and that'll trick them into flowering, and that's what this room does. I want to mention also one other thing. When you use organic soil material, you're going to get organic sort of pests. You're going to get gnats and sort of insects like you would get at home. So in order to handle those sort of pests, so what we'll do is we'll actually purchase predator insects, specific bugs who like to dine on the pests that sort of plague our crop every once in a while.
Connecticut is extremely stringent about pesticide use. So anything that can be done to mitigate any type of pest issue using more natural, holistic approaches is really the best way to do it because obviously the final product that patients have access to is not going to be tainted with something that really shouldn't be ingested. And I really commend you guys for going to the length that you do to make sure that the products ending up in patients' hands that they're using as medicine is extremely safe.
Well, thank you.
We've now made our way into the curing room. This room that we're standing in right now is really extremely environmentally controlled, and really the purpose of that is to ensure that the product does not degrade. And Reno, can you tell us a little bit about maybe some of the environmental standards that are in this room and why they're so important?
This is one of the final steps in realizing the finished product. So the cure process is very important to drying and the curing because it's when you get the conversion of the cannabinoid acids to their neutral forms. It's also when the presence of the terpenes decreases.
How long does it take for you guys to dry harvested plants, and then how long do you take to actually cure the dried product?
The drying process is slow. It can take anywhere from 10 to 14 days, and then we'll cure it at a minimum for another week or two. That seems to be the sweet spot in the curing and drying process. We're in the packaging room here at Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions. This is where we pack out the majority of our products. Right now, we're in the middle of packing out flour. All of our scales are calibrated by a third party. They are also standardized daily prior to use using NIST traceable standards to verify that they're repeatable. On a 3.5 gram pack out, our operators will minimally pack out 10% higher. So we're at a 3.8.
Yeah, it's important for patients to know just to make sure that they don't feel as though they're getting less than what they are paying for. That's really not going to be the case here with Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions products. So just like we're in the end stages of the life cycle of the plant, we're also at the end stage of this video, and really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Thank you, Reno, for giving us this wonderful tour and helping patients see kind of the process that their medicine is going through before it makes it into their hands. Patients of Connecticut can find Connecticut Pharmaceutical products available to them in a licensed dispensary in the state of Connecticut.
And first at 5:30, our big story, we're looking at the state of medical marijuana in Connecticut. Good evening, I'm Denise DeSenza.
And I'm Dennis House. Thanks for joining us. Mark is on assignment. Connecticut is one of 20 states and the District of Columbia that allows marijuana to be sold as medicine. The state now has 4 producers and 6 dispensaries and is now looking to add more places to serve patients.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Susan Raff shows us how it's all working and who it's helping.
While many of us know what marijuana looks like, it's a lot different seeing so much of it. Rows and rows of pot plants and powerful. The THC content in these plants is about 5 times what it used to be. And you can't just walk in.
And wear special suits. And I think I'm getting a hairnet.
These special suits protect the plants from us, but they're also for security. There are no pockets, just in case people want to take a sample.
We brought them all on and we staggered them every 2 weeks. So it would be
Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions is one of 4 growers in Connecticut. And to keep these plants healthy and chemical-free.
So we don't use pesticides, we use predator insects.
That's right, they use bugs to eat any fungus.
The marijuana plants need a lot of consistency when it comes to humidity, temperature, and they also need a lot of light.
Altogether, they have 20 different strains here, which have many different therapeutic benefits.
We've used marijuana as medicine for decades and actually hundreds of years, but we've never had a medical marijuana drug product that's regulated like a pharmaceutical.
And when you see the lab, it's clear this is a highly regulated industry. Much of the marijuana grown, however, is not smoked, but is made into a resin for oils and even wax. Smoking is harmful, and the oils are more concentrated and last longer. The final product are these applicators. So now that you've seen where it comes from, where do patients get it?
We tried to set it up as a facility that, someone who's 21 or someone who's 85 might feel comfortable walking into and not feel as though they're in a place that, would cause any type of discomfort.
Prime Wellness is unlike anything you've ever seen. It's a waiting area with a case filled with drug paraphernalia. How many people come in here and say, wow, this looks like a head shop?
Not that many. Not that many.
Just me? You're not allowed to see the marijuana, but you get a pretty good idea how it's used.
So as soon as the patient starts to inhale, there's a little heating wick inside of here that vaporizes the oil.
Something that I never thought would ever happen in my lifetime.
Kevin Sear almost died in a car accident. He was in a coma for 3 months.
And I've tried every medication that is on the market from all these different doctors.
He says marijuana helps him live his life without unbearable pain. Medical marijuana is relatively a new industry in Connecticut, and there's certainly a learning curve. And it's tough for many physicians who don't know much about it and are uncomfortable recommending it.
But Hartford Neurology had not, still at this point in time, has not gotten involved in it. So I sought out an additional physician.
Greg Fitzsimmons has epilepsy and says marijuana helps alleviate anxiety, and he's had fewer seizures. There are 11 different conditions that are officially recognized in Connecticut, which allow medical marijuana. It's the cannabinoids that have shown to be beneficial. Connecticut and a number of states are starting to embrace the idea that an illegal drug does have medicinal value. Susan Raff, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions is a pharmaceutical company making medications from the botanical marijuana that we start with. My name is Tom Schultz. I'm originally from New Britain, currently live in New Canaan. I'm the president of Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions. Well, we see medical marijuana as a really exciting new frontier in medical science. The human endocannabinoid system was only discovered in 1992. So, there were things that were discovered in 1492, but this wasn't one of them. This was discovered only very recently. The medical frontiers in medical marijuana are moving very quickly, and we can see a great deal of promise for human health in the development of this product. We really do focus on a pharmaceutical approach on producing consistent medicine of a pharmaceutical quality so that our patients know exactly what they're buying each time they buy it. We start with strains that were recommended to us by one of the leading medical doctors in the field. Starting with those strains, we then grow things consistently with the same soils, the same fertilizers, the same lighting, the same hours of lighting, same water, so that each time we produce a medication, a patient can be confident that the medication is precisely the same as what he or she purchased the last time. We see the growth of a biotechnical industry, let's say as medical marijuana taking its place in Connecticut's biotechnical establishment. Within a few years, this is going to be far more accepted than it is today. And within the medical community, its characteristics will be more known than they are today.
We are standing in our raw materials area at Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions. In this area, we have all of our certified organic input materials that we'll use in our growing process. Now, while the soil itself cannot be certified organic, this is a designation strictly for food products. Certain high-grade soils can carry certification to allow them to be used in the organic farming process. These high-grade amendments and soil inputs are the ones that we use here at CT Pharma. Certifications by OMRI, CDFA, and EcoCert, or the equivalent, assure us that our products are free from contaminants and give us the repeatability that we need to produce our high-grade, safe medicinal products. It's also worth mentioning that we use only high-purity water for our growing process. We have a reverse osmosis water system that we had installed to provide us with this high-quality water. Removing all of the dissolved solids from the water assures us a repeatable starting point that ultimately gives us full control over the nutrients that we feed our plants. Using certified amendments in pure water gives us the assurance that all of the input materials going into our process are controlled and reliable, just like the process controls used to make traditional pharmaceutical drug products. We are now in the CT Pharma propagation room. Here we have the cuttings that were taken from the mother plants. These cuttings will be nurtured and monitored until they grow roots, a process that will take a few weeks. Once the cuttings have rooted, they're ready to go to the next phase of their development, where they're transplanted into a custom formulated soil. The growing requirements for these young plants is a little different from the requirements for the older plants. For example, the cuttings need to be warmer and at a higher humidity level in the critical first few weeks of their growth. Right now we're in the hallway at CT Pharma Solutions. These units to the right of me on the wall are called ballasts. They control the intensity of the lights in the grow rooms. These units are controlled by a system called the building management system. That system can control the lights, the photo period on and off, the humidity, the temperature, and the carbon dioxide that we inject into the rooms for the plants to grow. Not only does that system control all of those utilities, but it also takes all of the data and collects it and trends it so that we can analyze it later on. Right now we're in the mother room. All the plants in here have been identified by variety, chemotype, and phenotype, which means that we can predict the outcome from each one of them with a high degree of assurance. Right now we're in a flower room that's actually in the dark cycle of growth. They stay in this room under 18 hours of light and 6 hours of darkness in order to maintain them in a perpetual vegetative state of growth. The vegetative state allows us to take cuttings from them to move them along in our production process. Each mother will be maintained as a donor plant under continued vigilance until we determine that she needs to be replaced by one of her progeny.
My name is Mark Conforti. I'm the lead grower here at CT Pharma. We have a variety of plants here. This is one of our flower rooms. These plants have about a week and a half to go before they finish. We're going to be lowering the temperature and reducing their light cycle to let the resin production really come out, let the plants harden up a little bit so we gain some yield towards the end. It's mostly a trained eye. Towards the end of their production, you can see the trichomes pop out. They stop drinking as much, so all of a sudden where they're drinking every 2 days, every 3 to 4 days, they're still pretty wet. And we know that the typical flower phase is about 55 to 65 days. So when it gets to that time, by evaluating the plants, we don't have a set day, but it comes down to, within a week, we're going to take them down and we'll pick the right day. There is definitely a perception of the stereotypical stoner out there. I think the industry is really moving away from that now. In a production facility like this, to be sitting around and to be smoking and slacking just wouldn't work. There is an immense amount of labor involved in doing one flower room, let alone 4 flower rooms, and the propagation and the vegetation. Everybody we have here realizes that we're pretty thin-staffed. It's a new company. We've got to get everything cured, packaged, and out the door, and it's very strict. Everything needs to be documented, regulated.
We're in another flower room here. This room we use more for experimentation, trying out different cultivars to see what's going to work with our product sets. The strain to my left is a typical indica strain. It's a blend, shorter, squatter plant, higher THC. Versus the one on my right here, this is actually very exciting. This is a proprietary strain that we're working with. Very, very high CBD, very low THC, which will provide us with material to do a whole bunch of neat and exciting things, extractions, oils, and concentrates. Here in the cure room at Connecticut Pharmaceutical Solutions is where the inflorescence, or flower material, and the plant material are dried and cured. The temperature, humidity, and lights in this cure room are controlled to ensure the optimum conditions for finishing the drying and curing of the plants. Over time, decarboxylation of the cannabinoid acids to psychoactive cannabinoids occurs, while terpenes isomerize to create new polyterpenes with different medicinal and organoleptic qualities. So basically, it's very important to control the cure process because it's possible to enhance or to inhibit particular medicinal compounds.
So let me just break down for you what he was saying about the cure room processes. In basic English, what it means is by controlling the temperature, light, humidity, and other conditions in this room, we can really enhance medicinal properties of the plant.
I'm Dr. Mark Junewells, and we're in the laboratory. In this lab, we take plant material and refine it into pharmaceutical grade oils. Additionally, we conduct a lot of process optimization research. We also conduct research in this lab to develop techniques to enhance plant potency and yield through propagation of selected vegetative cell lines, soil testing and nutrient delivery optimization, and development of regulated model plant material for purified cannabinoid production.